Welcome to Studio Chatter, a Jamm Studios podcast, with this, our very first episode. In these podcasts, we'll be featuring audio and commentary from our live events, from student showcases to live sessions, original music, interviews and discussions with industry experts, and a mixed bag of other things to entertain you from time to time. This first episode will focus on our new film club event series. We recently held the first in our new series of events here at the studio, featuring iconic music films and documentaries with special Q&A sessions with guest speakers from the industry. Our first event focused on the Liverpool music scene from the 1950s to the present day, featuring the film Get Back, the city that rocked the world. We were very lucky to have the fantastic Owen Clayton here at the studio to talk about his experiences in many bands from the 1950s, including the famous Quarrymen. Thank you again to Owen for talking to us on the night, and we hope you enjoy listening to this extended interview and all his fantastic stories. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss any future episodes. Brilliant. Okay, welcome to our first Jamm Film Club event. The idea of these events is to put on some great music-based films and documentaries and sort of informative films for people to enjoy, even if they don't play an instrument, to just come down and enjoy what we do here and sort of be around like-minded mental people that are in this room. So to kick things off, we've got a great film about the Liverpool music scene. Obviously, it's very local to us, and there's a lot of big bands that have come from there, with obviously one in particular being the Beatles. Luckily with these events, what we're trying to do is bring in some special guests who can talk about either the film itself or music that the film's based on. And today we have a great guest who's played with a number of different artists in Liverpool and been around the scene since way back when, although he does look younger than half the people I know. I think he even looks younger than me. So can you put your hands together for Owen Clayton? So obviously nobody came here to listen to me, so I'm just going to kick things off with a few questions and sort of bob in and out. So Owen, obviously the biggest question that people ask anybody who plays an instrument is, where did it all start for you?
Well, I'd go back in the 40s at school. We had a little band in the school done by a good music teacher at the time, which I can't remember his name, that long ago. And everybody picked their instruments. And I was a little tearaway at school. And there was nothing left except a double bass. And I was the smallest in the school then. And the teacher said, well, Owen, you play the double bass. And that's the way I started. And that was on the school days. And then when I left school in 1950, at the age of 14, my first job was playing in a dance band and at Yorkshire Metal in Kirby. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that. In 1951 that was. There was no music like today. The dance halls were always live bands, and it was just ordinary dance, foxtrots, quick steps, you name it. That's the kind of the dancing they done in those days, because the rock and roll hadn't been invented, or skiffle. And that was round all the halls in Liverpool and in Wales, holiday places. We played in different bands. You'd be in a different band every week. If you were wanted, you got the phone call and you went there and played and got there 7 and 6, which is about 30 pence now. And you had to get your own transport there and carry your bass. Like when I used to go out in the 50s, 51, 52, 53, nobody had transport. I used to get on the bus with me double bass, stand on the platform and get off at every stop that the people up and on, and then get back on again. And I done that for about 4 years. And then from there, all the bands I played in some great places. And from there, I went in the army, of course, because everybody got called up then days. And I went in the Irish Guards. I was stationed in Egypt. So I'd done a bit of playing in the officers' mess and sergeant's mess. You never play for the ordinary men. You only have to play for the sergeant's mess and the officers. And then when I come out, well, I didn't come out. I came to London in 1956. which was just the start when the rock and roll was sort of creeping through. Skiffle was starting, and I was then in 1956. I'm going back in my memory now. I come back and I was stationed at Wellington Barracks and we were on public duties. And in them days, the Guardsmen used to stand outside on the pavements in Buckingham Palace and the Bank and St. James's Palace. Used to stand on the pavements outside with the public, not at the back like they do now through the railings. And you could make a lot of money. Used to stand there like that, and the tourists, the Americans, Germans, they're all coming in, you know, Japanese, everything. And they'd say, walk up and down, you keep your face straight. And then the 10 bob notes would come out, stick it in your pocket so you walk up and down for a while. So I used to sell my guard for £0.50. Every time I was on guard at the weekend, they'd queue up £0.50 because then they wanted to go. Because when they got out, they made more money than £0.50 than I did. But I was out playing. And I used to play in a club called the Skiffle Cellar in Soho. And this was the time when Skiffle was started. And I don't know whether anybody ever remember Johnny Duncan. The record was Last Train to San Fernando. Well, anyway, it was number 1 in 1957. And I'm the bass player on that, if you ever heard it again. It was the most popular record played on the children's request on a Saturday morning. Anyway, it sold more records than anybody else in the hit parade, any English band in the hit parade, because we were only there for 1 week at top, and we could have been top for 12. Could have been top for 12, but what happened was we could have been there for 12 weeks, but we got back to number 2. And what happened there was some scally from America kept releasing a record every 3 weeks. But we sold more records than any English band ever sold. It became a record. And it became a record to be 12 months at number 2. 12 weeks at number 2 in the hit parade. Then from there, we can go from who I've played with then. I was playing with Johnny Duncan, recording in Joe Meek. Anybody heard of Joe Meek? Joe Meek, well, he was the innovator of all the modern music you hear today, recordings, not playing, the recordings, the sounds. Phil Spector, you've all heard of him? Well, he copied Joe Meek. Joe Meek done all that well before Phil Spector did. And we used to, in his studio, was over a leather shop in Holloway Road in London. And he recorded all the great artists at that time. It's Shadows, he recorded them all. And then they went on to the record. When he recorded it, the production of the record was sold to the big companies. To EMI, they would release those records then. But Joe Meek, when you went in to record, the singer would be in the bathroom because of the echo, because he used natural echo. And then the drummer would be somewhere, you know, I think he was in the backyard actually, in a little shed. And the guitar player would be in a room, and the double bass player would be in a room on his own. And everything was mic'd up with mics and speakers so you could all hear one another. And that's how he'd done most of his records. And then, I know we were there one night with Johnny Duncan playing for like an LP, and Johnny said to him, I wasn't happy with them songs. I said, I think we weren't on board, the music was a bit ropey. He said, don't worry. And then a week after, we went back, played it to us, and you wouldn't think there was anything wrong. That's how good this man was. He said, all it takes is a pair of scissors and a bit of glue. And that was it. That was the way he said. Anyway, that's Joe Meek. And then from there, I played with many bands down in London. And then when I came back to Liverpool, actually, in 1957, the end of 1957, I started a few bands. And then I started a band called Steve Bennett and the Syndicate, which was a top band in Liverpool. I've got a photograph. I brought some old pictures, not modern ones, you know. They're a bit grainy in that, but I brought them to show you if anybody wants to see them. We were the top band in Liverpool at that time. And, girls, brilliant. You could choose, you know, you say, I'm not on there, I'm on there. You know, you could choose, it was brilliant. And we were the top band. This is up to 1961. And then a band came on called the Silver Beatles. They came and played the same gig we were on at Aintree Institute and in Liverpool. The same gig, and then you never heard of us again. You never heard any of the Liverpool bands again, till Epstein took a few and got them up. But when the Beatles come, they weren't known, they weren't even recording artists. The girls just never went anywhere else when anyone else played. It was the Beatles. And I did play with the Quarrymen for 6 years, but only in modern day. Played the Liverpool Arena with them, played the Empire with them, played a few good gigs with them, got plenty of money off them, got more money off them and they can't play. I'm not kidding you, they can't play. They can't play. Rob, he can play a bit and do a bit, but Len Gary, who sings and plays, but being, I always call it the folk G. I always call it that folk G, the full chord of the folk G. I always call it the folk G. He'd playing that all night, not move. Colin Hampton, the drummer, would be tap, 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 tap. But they used to come in and tell a story, how they got on with John Lennon and at the thing, when Paul McCartney came. And Colin Hampton, and he's only playing on one, which is In Spite of All the Danger, which the girls on the way, in spite of all the danger. He played on that and got £800,000. Pete Best got about 6 million because he's on the BBC tapes. So anyway, from there, that's what happened. Never heard of us again. And then we just all done bands. And before that, I was in country western bands, the Sundowners, which had a hit record. I was in another band called Chelsea that had a number 49. I was in a band called Halfway to Eddie's. It had a bit of a hit, 102. And I was in another band called Jukebox Eddie's, which when we started, they were number 49. When we got a number 49 with them, then we went on and done a whole tour of Germany, France, Italy with them. And that was my band. It's my name. If nobody else can use that name, Jukebox Eddie's, because it's signed to me. And the way we went then is through that. I went through that, and then I played with all the Americans that come over because they always need a double bass player. They don't need bass guitars. And get more work with the double bass. And I played with James Burton. I don't know if anybody remembers him. Elvis's player. Jerry Scheffner. Actually, I was been ill for 13 months. I've been ill. And how I became ill, well, I don't know how I came ill, but I was ill for 30 months. Couldn't move. Lost all my muscles. And it's only 4 weeks I've started playing again, but never touched an instrument until 4 weeks ago. But anyway, what happened to me was I was on stage in New Brighton with Jerry Scheffner, Elvis's player. He's coming over to do a tour and play. And when I come off the stage the next day, I couldn't move. I'd lost all movement. Couldn't move, so I was like that for 30 months. So I'm not a friend of his anymore. I don't know whether he brought a virus over with him. But yeah, Chuck Berry and Jerry Lewis on the Empire. The Platters in the old days on the Empire. Yeah. It was in anybody in the audience? And the 11th of August, 2000, about 2001, I think it was. And the other thing is, that's all I've done all my life is played. Got married. When you get married, a bit of anchors on, you're not going out again. So you have to pack in and get a proper job, but still played semi-pro, even though I had a proper job, See, because son came along, you've got to look after him, got to have money regular then, not just every time. But as I say, the most money I earned was with the Quarrymen. I've done television work with the Quarrymen. I've done. Oh, I'll tell you another that you might enjoy this. In 1956, I was in a film with Marilyn Monroe, and the name of the film is Prince and the Showgirl. It must be the worst film in the world. When you look at this coming up, you see Laurence Olivier, Marilyn Monroe, and then you see the little bottom. Not me, I don't know who it was, but I'm not even on it. But I was an extra. And if anybody ever sees the film, when she's on the coronation and she's coming past the theatre, she forgets herself and waves to the girls. Well, if you look at Jean Kent sitting down outside the theatre with a blanket round her, I'm standing next to her in uniform as a guard. But I did have an interview with her. When I say interview, I just knocked on the caravan door, the big caravan, and Arthur Miller, and I said, I'd just like to meet Miss Monroe, you know. He said, come in, and I was there for about 10 to 12 minutes and got a nice signed picture, kiss like that, with a name across. And the house has gone on fire, so that's gone as well. And the house went on fire while we were on holiday in France. So we didn't know till we come home. Anyway, besides that, I've digressed a little bit. But the other thing is, in our day, the pubs were full, and the clubs were full. And one of the reasons I think it was full is because we didn't have the equipment that they got today. We had basic equipment, and we all come through an amp and not big PA systems. And people, when they come out, could talk and enjoy the music as well. Now, when you go to see a club and a band's on, you can't talk, you've got to go 3 blocks away when they come on stage. So that's why I think a lot of it has been lost. If you all go to the pub, or you see friends, don't you, and you want to talk, and the band comes on, nobody can talk. So places get emptied that way, and that's the way I feel about why the changes in music. It's not the change in music, it's changing the decibel system. That I mean, in my day, you used to have a lamp. When you'd be on stage, you're too loud, all the amps would cut off. All cut off, and you see the red light, and you have to wait till the red light goes green and all start again. I've been on stage with sax player Swanee, and he would be in the toilet playing. He wouldn't come out on stage. Have anybody heard Carl Tate and the Cruisers? If you have, I used to play with them, and the sax players are very funny. He'd get on with it. He'd be on stage and put one, the burglar's mask thing, the full balaclava with just eye holes and a mouthpiece, with his back to the audience, playing all night. Wouldn't entertain anybody. But anyway, that's my life up to the 60s, and then I'll play with anybody, and I've played with loads, as I say, on the Empire. I've played with a good few of the old stars. They're all old now, like that's why I can play with them. Charlie Gracie, do you remember him? See, he's old, he's like me. He's the only one here I can really talk to. Yeah, but that's the system I've been through, and I've never done a hard day's work in my life, really. I've just played music. When I even had a proper job, I was an engineer, so I didn't work. I just used to fix things, you know. And so I've never really done manual. Look, you see those lovely hands. No, I play double bass, and there's not a mark, even like, you see the guitar players, they're all welts. I play them big, thick strings, and I haven't got a welt on my fingers. I always say, if you hit the instrument right and put your fingers right, you won't get segs. And I think that's about Justin, don't you? I bet you want to get into the film now. I haven't seen the film, but...
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I've got a couple of questions. First of all, I just wanted to outline that music is a hard day's work, just so you know. So, yeah, you might need to try and sort of take that back later on. Yeah, because I always tell her I've worked really, really hard all day, and she believes it. So you said you had
Very hard.
So a number one hit, obviously, these days you can buy a song while sat in the bath on your phone, or just by shouting at an object in the room and it'll listen to you. So obviously that number one hit is all through physical sales of people going out to a shop and buying things. At that point in time, how many records do you need to sell to get a number one?
Number one, we got a silver disc, then a gold disc, and a platinum disc for being number two. So they're like, you got to sell 50,000, 100,000, and 250,000. I think it is for the gold, and for the platinum.
Yeah, I think those numbers are a lot lower these days.
Well,
Christian, would you agree?
5,000.
Yeah, it's dropped a lot. Wow. It's a big difference, and especially just the way people buy music. It was more of an effort to go out and actually physically pick something up. So to get,
yeah, but they are coming back. Vinyl's really on the way back. I might sell all mine.
I think your friend is. It would definitely be interested. The other question I've got is obviously, you said about the rise of the Beatles at that point in time, and then suddenly you were all forgotten. If you're going out at that time into Liverpool, obviously you can go out nowadays, and we all do it ourselves, going into the local town and everything, and the nightlife's very different. If you were to walk into Liverpool at that point, what was it like to see the music scene at that point? What would you typically see?
We used to we'd be in town at Cooper's. We used to play in a pub and then go in another pub to see a band, and then they'd come and see you, and then you'd be playing till 2 o'clock in the morning. I used to play in a place called the Atlantic Hotel on the Dock Road. I was the resident bass player. John Caldwell, do you remember? Sunday afternoons, Fridays, Saturdays, Sunday afternoons, Sunday evenings. I used to play on Friday night till 2 o'clock in the morning, and you don't get off. None of this 45-minute nails get off. You were on there till 2 o'clock. And Saturday, by the way, Ian Redfern, those that know Ian, his granddad was really my dad. My real dad, who was a piano player, died when I was 7. And my sister, Margaret, I lived with my sister, and Ian's granddad, Bert Smith. And Bert Smith is a brilliant musician. Nether Hall, I should say, is the music place for the army, and you've got to be top notch. You see the music people on Philharmonics and those places, they all went to this place in the army. And the School of Music is the best in the world there. And he was a teacher there. And he had his own band. He was on the radio in 1947, 48, 49 with his request show. Brilliant musician. Well, he was my dad, and I called him Dad. I'll tell you, we was there. And I played with him as well when I was 21. Played it with him in certain gigs. I used to play in a gig in Widnes. Anybody know Widnes and ever heard of the Slush Hole? And that's where Ken Dodd started. And Ken Dodd, we used to play of a weekend on a Saturday night, the Slush Hole. It's all knocked down now. And that was in 1958. And another non-salot is I started a band called the Creoles. This is true, this story. It was in the Palm Cove, just off Smithdown Road. And this is 1959, I think, or 58, 59. And we used to go on the bus, get there, number 3 bus, to get there from Walton. And when we got there, we set up. And on the stage, it was a narrow stage in this. And there was a doorway at the back. And this was in a real seedy area. And we used to be playing. And while we were playing, you see a woman coming along, with a fella on the stage while we were all playing. And up the stairs, it was a brothel. And that's 1950, 58, 59. And we used to get chains upstairs, all white leather. All like the rooms had white leather seats. Not like the brothels these days. Good stuff. Right. And you guys have...
Yeah, another quick question before we take some from the guys sat here. So, Have you got any? That story was great, obviously. But have you got anything? Have you got any other stories that you just spring to mind the minute you think of your playing career and you think, what on earth was that gig about?
Well, this gig is in 1960 with the Syndicate, Steve Bennett and the Syndicate. In 1960 or 61, does anybody remember 1960, 61, there was an outbreak in Cardiff of smallpox. A big outbreak, and then all the bands refused to go. So we're always being like way down in the band rooms in them days from Marty Ward and all them. We decided to go, and we all made a pledge: no girl kissing. No girl kissing. Don't go near any women. Kissing any girls. No drinking out of bottles, and no getting like within 3 feet when you're talking. Say, hang on, stay there. I'll talk to you there. And we got there in them days. We got £100 for that night, which was worth about £500, £600 a day. That's about it, I think, you know. And my memory's gone.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I'll take a few questions. Anyone wants a question? Come on, you must have a question.
Did you ever get a chance to play with Paul and John?
No, I never got the chance to play with Paul and John. I remember when we were Steve Bennett saying, I've got a photograph to show you. We used to wear like white leather jackets before the Beatles came on the scene. And I remember Paul coming one night to the 80 Institute to see us, and that was talking. But I used to be friends with John more than Paul. And when I say friends, it's sort of like that. Like I could be talking, if that was John, I could be talking to you like that, and somebody come up and say, "Oh, can I have a photo? Can I have an autograph?" And he just say, "Piss off," you know. And that's that. While you were talking to me, you go, "Oh, he's a fan." You know, I'd sign it for him. Yeah.
Okay, so just to finish off, obviously the scene nowadays is very different. What do you think could be done to bring it back to its heyday?
Well, I think there's going to have to be a control on how loud the bands are. I mean, you can go in a pub, it's only half the size of this, and there's about 800 watts coming out. And people, as I was saying before, people go out to talk as well as listen to bands, because they haven't seen certain people all week, or somebody's coming out with them. And that's what I think it's on, because in our day, the pubs were chocker. But we only had like one amp at one time. You'd have a singer going through the amp and a guitar player and a bass going through the amp.
I think Ian brings more gear than that with him just to a rehearsal.
Yeah. And that great big Truvox amp, anybody ever Selma Truvox amp, about that size it was. Biggest amp on the market in 1957. And that was it. And that was only valve on it. Great big valves, bigger than your hand. And that was like 35 watt. I got a picture of me with talking about amplification, why people did come to see because they could talk. My bass amp is a Vox bass amp, and it was 15 watt.
For a gig?
For a gig, yeah.
Through a PA or not through a PA?
No. What's a PA? Yeah, people could talk. And they say, "Oh, great group, we can all have a talk." No.
I don't think, Christian, we haven't even got a 15 watt amp in our teaching rooms.
Yeah.
I think the smallest amp we...
A Watkins Dominator, ever 20 watt was it? Wasn't I think it was 20. The little ones were 10, and the Dominator was 20. And that was the singer to sing to that as well as the guitar player.
Wow. The smallest amp we've got in a teaching room is 65 watts. That's like Wembley Stadium volume, isn't it? Yeah.
And, everywhere was packed because there was a decent band. You could hear the harmonies, you could hear. Now, I think if you listen to most records, the singer's more faded backwards. The band's more louder. Now, you go 50s and 60s record, the singers are up front. You know, you can hear the singer and the band's nice at the back, but now it's the other way around. The singer's shouting his head off at the back, and the band's big volume. And nobody ever mic'd the drummer.
Oh, they're not important anyway, they, Chris?
Nobody ever mic'd the drummer because you didn't need to, because we only had 15 and 20 watt. The drummer could leave that in the shade without any mic on it. And when we played the Empire, the drummer in our band, he just had 2 mics over, 2 mics hanging down like that.
God, yeah. I think we do more than that just for a small student gig here. I think we have about 6 or 7 mics on the drum kit. Oh. So less is more next time, Christian. People
used to stand, and if you see the double bass, the first cut there, they used to stand on that first ledge. And that was the highest anybody ever done. But Bill Haley in the comments, his bass player used to stand on the shoulder there, and that's when I started standing on it. When I seen him in Blackboard Jungle, I said, I'm getting on my bass. Took me a few goes. Got up there at the end. I've got photographs of we went live out to Japan from Cooper's, and I was standing on the top, and I've got my camera taking pictures of the people down below, and it came on. I got the tape from Japan for their national television, and it came on their television because they were doing about F. Stan, and he wanted to hear the music of the day, So we done a concert for him. And then cameras, like your camera here, camera there, mics here, mics there. thought I was a star.
Brilliant. Okay, then. Well, I think you can agree from information on everything from the music scene from back in the 50s and forward, and some incredible stories as well. Obviously, Owen's got some photographs with him for you to have a look at the end if you want to stay behind and have a chat with him, etc. But I think we're at time to get into the film. So, a big round of applause and a thank you to Owen. Okay, so we hope you enjoyed listening to that interview, and thanks again to everyone who came down to the event. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast and tune in again soon for more on what's happening here at Jamm Studios. Thanks for listening.